In this video we're going to take the previously cleaned up point cloud and surface it so that we can then generate annotated contours. The first stage in doing that is to say what levels are we going to generate. So we're going to generate the lowest levels. We're going to do this by dropping a grid, so that's the grid spacing there, 250 mil. And if it can't find a point exactly where it's looking for one, it'll go looking for a maximum of 50 mil in this situation for the lowest point. And I'm just going to hit preview. It's now getting the data from the point cloud. It'll then form a DTM and preview it for us. Now that that's done, it's showing us the preview. So I'm reasonably happy with that surface. What I need to do now is say create and give it a better name. Okay, that data is now being committed back to the project. So by double clicking on the new road grid, we see that data set. We can turn off the model to leave us with just the contours. The first thing I'm just going to do though is tidy up these contours. To do that, I'm going to click select, which is essentially like going to an X reference, bring the channel data in, which I've already extracted. Okay, so all I need to do is go to the points menu and we're going to go delete inside a polyline. Click that, so that does that. And then we just need to do the same but on the outside. So to the outside, we do it by using the crop tool. And click that again, and that tidies that. So that very easily and quickly tidies up the surface, or rather removes triangles that we don't necessarily need. The next thing is to look at unnecessary artifacts in the surface. If I was to go over here again and show the images. Okay, and then if I zoom in. Okay, now at the moment, I've got the grid turned on, so if I turn the grid off, and then under contour defaults, currently I'm drawing contours every 0.1 of a meter. If I set that to say half that, we get more contours. So you can start to see where maybe some of the drain covers have brought an artifact or two into the surface. So in those situations, I can go to points, smooth, and I can just draw a little polygon around the area, and that will tidy that up. So here we have some extraneous triangles left over from some car data that wasn't properly removed. And what it's doing is it's just finding the surrounding levels and creating a local surface for us. If I turn off the imaging, you can see that the contours are a little bit jaggedy. That's perhaps just the nature of point clouds in general, but we can help deal with that by going to the detail menu, coming to smooth. So the smooth routine is now tidied up the surface. It hasn't updated the screen though, so to update the screen I'm just going to hit F5 and you'll see the difference. Okay, so obviously it makes sense to smooth the surface before we do anything in terms of plotting final presentation quality contours. To plot final presentation quality contours, what we do is you go to the contours menu and we go to our threads menu. So threads are what we call presentation quality contours, because they're rather than just little short straight lines, they are continuous polylines. So I'm going to do threads create. Similar options as before, you can modify the spacing if you need to. I'm going to set the text offset to 0, so when I annotate them in a minute, it actually breaks the contour, and I'll set the number of decimal places to 2, because we'll be annotating every 50 mil. I'm also using this option here, which is shading colors, so when it's finished they'll actually not be blue, they'll actually change color based on their height. This setting cleans out the small circular contours that you get around objects, such as cars and whatnot, if they were left in. So that's another option to help tidy up the data. So I'm going to just press OK. Now that that process is finished, you can see we have colourful contours, whereas before they were just a blue. If I turn the contours back on, you can see here is a situation where the loop check has not created additional contours that we don't perhaps need. But what we do need to obviously do is annotate them. So if I go to the annotate, we can actually indicate exactly where we want to annotate them by striking a line through them. Or for the sake of this job, I'm just going to say regular distances. So annotate every contour over 10 meters along. Press OK. And now when we zoom in, you'll see that every contour has been annotated. If the deliverable is also a grid of levels, we can do that quite easily. So I just go to the models branch here in the project manager and come down to point grid, and it's going to create me essentially a grid interpolated over that surface. So I've just got this one spots for argument's sake. It's going to use the code SL, which is just generally used for spot levels, interpolating over that surface, 2 meter grid. Press OK. And there we go. Okay, so the spot level code is already set up to plot the point and the height. Okay. So what you can also now do is if I go Alt B for backcloth, or the same as pressing that select button, I can actually put the road grid behind that as well, so that I've actually got both in the same place. I've got contours and spot levels, which obviously then can be exported to AutoCAD if needs be. We should probably see how this all looks in 3D and combines with the point cloud. So if I show the image locations, there they are. I can then come down to the model section here, and I can say height shaded for that. Actually turn the point cloud off, and then if I click on an image location, so that view now contains both the 360 pano and also the surface that we just generated. If I turn on contours here, we'll see those as well. And I can also change the opacity of the surface, so if it's a bit too overbearing I can say 50%. And there we go, so we can see through to the underlying road model but still have an understanding of what the surface is doing in terms of its contours and overall shape. And that concludes this little presentation.